G'day everybody. So I hope this is all working right. No, it's back to front. Oh, jeepers. I'm seeing something going crazy here. This logo is meant to be over there, but it's not. It's meant to be there, but it's meant to be right way around. So I don't know whether you're seeing that. We had Jane will be laughing because just before I came on, I've been so busy this morning. It's just crazy. It's now afternoon. It's now 2:00. I've been trying for an hour to just even get this up. Anyway, then it said something about my camera not working, and then Jane came and turned the camera on from a different direction, and now it's back to front. Maybe you're seeing it the right way. Let me have a look. No, it's still back to front. Oh well. Anyway, it's only the voice. I think the tracker should be fine because it's on. Yes, it's reversed. Thanks, John. Oh well. Many people think I'm a bit backward about coming forward. Even my shirt's not right. It's funny, I forgot to put the heater on here this morning, and I don't wear this t-shirt most of the day, and I just drop it on for this broadcast, and it's bloody cold. But anyway, I need to take a lesson out of Ada's book. She always makes sure she's looking really cool whenever she does her lives and bits and pieces, and I just go bleh. And so this is a bleh morning, and now for some reason we're back to front, but it doesn't matter. So lots of interesting things going on this morning. We just got about half an hour ago, just got a big update from Graham Cox, our roving technical reporter that tells everything in his weekly reports, which is fantastic. Has been having lots of conversations with Mike on 99 and all the fun he's been having, and he sent me a message, said he had a knockdown and nearly got knocked out and all that, and I said, hey, I better get some of this up. And he sent me a bit of a screed on some of the comms he's been having with him, and it's really cool. So I just put it up in a post underneath this. Some of you may have already seen it. It's worth a read. It's only probably a 2-minute read or 3-minute read, but basically it was quite. I should leave it until later. I'll talk about it when we finish the tracker, so we can go through bits and pieces. But yeah, he had a big knockdown and some other funny things going on. So we'll talk about that in a minute. Anyway, in the meantime, let's go straight to the tracker, and you've got the tracker there, and it's the right way around. It's only me that's backwards. Oops, I just pressed the wrong button here. So I'm on the tracker and you're on it as well, and they're absolutely flying across here at the moment because you'll see if we just build this up, and we'll have a sneak peek at the leaders, who happens to be Renaud still, and Origami trying to do everything he can. They're still making 5.5 knots on a 134-mile day, and this is supposed to be the quiet time. You can see some of the blue there. So I think they might even get in late on the second, which is just crazy. But there you go, all part of the fun. So before we go there, let's just have a look at what the weather is doing for the next 2 days. And I hope you're paying attention, Alenka, because then you can learn how to do this in 4 years' time, or 2 years' time if you come over the Transat. Anyway, I'll go into that later on. Okay, so here we go with the weather. They're not very far away. They're now about 440 miles from the finish. That's just crazy. So, okay, punching it along. I'll get my auxiliary keyboard here. Here we go. So it's coming through. You can see, well, there it is there. That's the softest it's going to get, and it really looks like it's having no impact at all. Although the sea should be down a little bit for now. Here we go for the first day. It's still all holding very much the same. If anything, it's filling in a bit more. So plenty of breeze there for the whole fleet, bearing in mind they'll move forward a little bit, but that's plenty of breeze for the first day, and it just simply gets stronger. So there we go. There's quite a puff coming on day 2. And if we just push this out a bit, so there's the finish. We'll just keep pushing it through. So that's the end of the second day. Plenty of breeze. So that's pushing, 25 gusting 30 knots there. And sea state will be back up again. Let's have a look at the waves. It'll be a bit purple. Yeah, solid purple. Now, just in case you've forgotten, that kind of colour is around about here. So there's certainly, we're talking 3, 4 solid 4s in there. So it just keeps building up and building up. So that's going to give them a little bit of excitement. They're used to it all now. They're all settled in. They know what's going on temperature-wise. Oh boy, it's getting a bit warmer. So that's the high 20s there. Come down here and have a look. Yep, that's right up here. 20, 27, 28 even probably. 27, 28. And if there's water around and they've got the boats buttoned up, they'll be getting quite warm down below. Clouds, let's see. Bit of a mixed bag. There's some light overcast and some holes, but mainly overcast going through there. So temperature, wind, rain, we don't have to worry about that. Oh, we'll have a look for rain. There might be a bit, but I doubt it. Oh yeah, there's a little bit of rain there. That looks like rain. Or is that my imagination? Yes. Anyway, back to the wind, back to there, and it's going to be a very fast finish. So everyone's, sort of going to not be sitting out drifting around like they did the last time a year ago. They were just hammered here. So, I don't need that. I want that. Come back to today's weather. Pleasant sailing, and no reports of any real issues at the moment. I think I mentioned Niels had broken. Was it Niels or Argo? And Niels lost a spinnaker pole, and I think Christian had a pole issue as well. Anyway, we'll have to wait and see. So, okay, so pick that up, and let's start the back of the fleet. Mike, 4.8 knots, 99-mile day. Funniest one with Mike was he started to use his GoPro and got it all strapped up and went out there and did all these things and got back thinking, yes, I've got it in the can. I've got some really good action playing around with poles and the A7 and stuff like that. But he had the camera facing the wrong way, so it was strapped up against him. So he didn't film any of it, missed the whole lot, which is kind of fun. Sad for him, but he'll get it all sorted. Jasmine, we missed her post yesterday, which was fantastic. I didn't see it until about midnight last night when I was going to bed. Her Starling was obviously firing, and she sat and gave a really good commentary about what's happening. I was wanting to see the sea behind her, but she wasn't showing it. She just flashed it forward, but just gave a piece to camera. And I would have loved to see how the boat was going. And she looked all dry and happy and healthy. Looks really healthy, actually. You've probably seen it. It was a very nice post. It was good to see her. So she might not be going fast, but she's certainly settled in, and she looked really well. Very relaxed, confident, all that sort of stuff. So she's been learning a lot in this trip across the Atlantic. It's funny, you tend to think of it as being, I tend to think this is just a short stint before the MGR, but it's actually an epic in itself. It's across the Atlantic, So anyway, she looked really, really good. 4.4 knots, 108-mile day, all going a straight line, so all seems well. Popeye's still bearing down on the course, sort of heading across to join the pack. I'll talk about that in a minute. Just talking about a rower friend out there, the rowers and the teams and stuff. So, Bibby, Jacob, 4.6 knots, 111-mile day. Seems to be dipping down there. Maybe wants to run the red line. Who knows? But no adverse reports there. And John on Delija 100 is just dropped in front of Holiday Dam. So they'll be having a bit of fun. They're pretty close. 130-mile day for John, and Immortal Gain, 5.5 knots, 128-mile day. Let's just pick it up and look at some of the distances apart here. They're pretty close. So they should be, I'm assuming, we don't know whether these guys know they're on top of each other. It's only 7 miles away. They can just about see each other. If the sun's in the right direction, they would actually, you can just about see. You've got every 3 miles, you dip about a metre on the horizon. And if they're 7 miles, only a 2 metre dip on the horizon, they'll probably see the mast and the sails if the sun's lighting it up. So hopefully they're talking on the radio. Anyway, they're both having good fun times there. Argo, just neck and neck by the time they close in, 5.2 knots and 120-mile day. It's 120 versus these guys at 128 and 130. So slipped a little bit behind. Little Wren, 118 nautical miles. Not too bad, 4.9. They're all pushing about the same sort of numbers there. And we'll just zip back here. Peter Punk pushed out some ground over the last 4, 5, 6 days, 5.2 knots and 119-mile day. Little B, 127-mile day, 5.3 knots. Had a funny message there. Jane got a message from Canada there. He got told, probably the manager, told him that I was laughing about his phone report, and said, I think Dan's keeping it under wraps, doesn't want the other sailors to know what sail combinations and what he's learnt, this, that, the other. Dan came back, he wishes that was the case, but sadly it was because he was still a little bit in space with his drugs. Not party drugs, health drugs. And it's still lingering in the background, his little issues there, but all's well. He's having a good time. So Jane sent back a message that we were both laughing about the whole thing. So he's having a great time. I think he's probably a little disappointed that it has, without doubt, affected his speed a bit. So these 5 at the front here, they're going to have a hell of a time going around the world. I tell you, it's going to be neck and neck all the way. So let's hope Peter Punk gets her sponsors and stuff. I haven't heard any more on that. Anyway, yeah, 119 for Peter Punk, and Peeler and Dan 127. So still moving pretty well. Oh, Biggest Monkey's days are nearly over, touch wood. He ain't got much time to try and catch the 2 guys in the front, and he is desperate to be there. He'll probably complain that he's carrying my cargo for me. He's carrying a roll of mainsail stickers for the other 4 boats that are coming into Antigua, because those things are really quite, when you roll them up, they're quite long. It's not that heavy, probably only a couple of kilos, but that could, you'll say, oh, that's the difference between winning and losing. Touch wood, there are no losers, but anyway, it was good of him to carry that. In fact, most of the boats are carrying something for me, a little something, which was hard, the poles for the flames or something. But we haven't seen any adverse reports, so he's still having fun. He is, by measurement, he has, let's see, hang on a sec. Okay, there's one. Where's the other one? I'll go again. I'm just trying to set up the ruler here. But sometimes if I move it, it doesn't sink in. So between him and the leader, Renaud, he's about 108 miles to go, and he's potentially only got about 3 days to do it. Distance to the finish, 4 days. Distance to the finish here, 430, that's let's say 4 lazy days, so 3.5 days. You've got to try and take out 20, you've got to move 20 odd miles, 25 miles catch up every day for the next 4 days. So that's about an extra knot faster to try and get there. It looks a bit challenging unless the 2 guys at the front have a problem. And it's never over until the fat lady sings. I've seen that happen quite a lot. So confirming 5.3 knots, 120-mile day. Origami, 5.7 knots, 128 miles a day. They're always consistently faster. So they're working hard. And you can see there's a little bit less wind up here than there is back there. So these guys are flying. We'll look forward to finding out how and why when they get to Antigua. So Renaud is the man of the moment, 5.5 knots and 134-mile day. 134, so he's taken out another 6 miles, got 6 miles further ahead than Origami over the last 24 hours at the current speeds. So all very interesting stuff, and a great race going on at the moment. So they're quite interesting groups, you know. Got the back markers here, you've got this middle group there, and you've got this lead group. And I think that's the way it's going to go. You know, if we sit and look back and think about what we heard and what we saw, like what we heard them talking about, if we just were to pick on this group here and the way they were talking and then look at their boats and the way they were preparing their boats, I'd suggest that there's probably a difference in the group here compared to the group here, except for the fact that Little Wren's got had a got a couple of broken ribs, maybe because he was performing really well there for a while. So anyway, but then this group back here, with all due respects to Dan, Holiday Man, and all the rest of it, I think there is a little bit of a difference there. Maybe Dan's holding back. I don't know. They're not making any aspersions. I think John's actually on Elijah 100. He's actually got faster and faster. He's settled into the boat now, and that sort of performance gain could continue for the next one. He'll probably be in port in Antigua, start throwing everything off his boat to make it lighter. I think he's getting in the groove. So BB's just having fun. He's carrying a lot of gear. He knows how to use his kites now and all that stuff. So there's some interesting stories there. I think we'll have a look at the leaderboard and then wrap this up, because it's just giving an indication of the ETAs. And of course, as they get closer, the ETAs that are suggested here are getting more and more accurate. Renaud on Capuchinet is suggesting, on the night of the 2nd, but I'd still think, anyway, let's wait and see. Maybe that's going to be right. But I was still saying it was sometime in the morning on the 3rd. Origami, sometime in the morning on the 3rd. It's already looking that way. And Biggest Monkey, yep, on the 3rd for sure. Nighttime, could even will roll over into the next day on the 4th, be early on the 4th. Little B, hopefully we'll get there by the time he gets there, but maybe not. That's going to be disappointing, but there we go. You probably saw that, and so it goes. So then the ETAs, you can all check this out anytime. The 5th of February, I think there'll be quite a few coming in on the 5th. And then it rolls over the 6th. And I think it's realistic to think of Jasmine getting in on the 10th, no later. It's only got an average there of 4 knots, but that's pretty much how she settles. So the same with Popeye, sometime on the 9th or the 10th. So that's looking pretty right. So there we go. We're about to see a winner or line honours taker very soon. Okay, so I'm going to head back here and see what we got. Now I've got to remember what we were talking about bits. Now, what have I got here? I've got, you probably saw about the issue of the way we build the boats and the resins we use and things like that. We're discussing that in a couple of issues because it has changed a lot. That's a separate subject, probably not for here, but we'll make some decisions, and maybe in a few months we might say, rightio, we'll grandfather anyone who's bought bits and pieces and thinking, but we may end up setting a date at which all future 580s will have to use an approved resin and possibly even cloth. We're not sure, to increase our sustainability and try and look after the environment, because it's now got to the point where there's very little cost difference for environmentally friendly resins and even cloth, although I'm not too bad with glass cloth, as it says. So anyway, Popeye, you've got Popeye's report. Dan's having a laugh. Also, what we've done is Josh is sailing down from North Carolina to Antigua for the start of the mini globe race. So I put a link to his tracker on the MGR Facebook page, so you can follow Josh's journey on his tracker. Eric is also sailing down. He took off a day or so before Josh. He's sailing from Cape Canaveral further down. I've got a link to his tracker, which I'll put up shortly, so you can follow Eric as well. Gary Swindle is having a few little issues right now, trying to get hold of his boat. It's been delayed again. It was supposed to have arrived on the 20th, and I think it's arriving today or tomorrow into Antigua, and then it's never been in the water before. It's never had the keel fitted, and he really has to get it sorted. But fortunately, he's got his manager is already there, I think, and he's got another mate, very capable guy, so there'll be 3 of them trying to assemble the boat, get it in the water, and get the qualifier done as quick as he can. He needs to be back on the 17th of February because we have a compulsory mandatory safety briefing, and anyone who doesn't get to that briefing doesn't do the MGR, because we don't want to run that again. But anyway, we'll see how we go. He's putting everything into it, and he's come a long way, so he's not likely to kick him out, but but we've got to hold the line there. So we'll see how it goes. And Gary will have a tracker on board as well when he does his qualifier. So you'll be able to follow him as part of the requirement. They've got to have their trackers up and running. It's their responsibility to make sure that's the case. And then when the event starts, we take over everyone's tracker and it'll activate on effectively the same site. But as you know, you can get onto the Transat website and pick up the tracker, and you can also pick up the MGR tracker off there as well, or over on the Mini Globe Race site. So that's cool. You may, if you're looking at the website, you may have seen we've shifted the information boxes up to the opening page now. So when you get onto that site, you'll actually come to the boxes and you can hit whatever info you're after. And some of that's not active yet, but a lot of it is, as in we're still putting information out. We're talking to Graham. I haven't seen another post from Brian yet, but he's a great writer and quite funny. But when Brian puts up again and when Frank comes up again, there hasn't been a lot happening. So Frank didn't do one. Might do today. It's getting close to the finish. And you've got Graham's technical report with all the data. They're now we make an index of that, so they'll all be on the same page. But they're color coded, so you can see Graham's reports, Brian's reports, and Frank's reports that go there. So plenty of reading if you want to look back anytime. Okay, I think that's probably about all that's going on. I'll just push these up. We're getting hammered, by the way, by the algorithm on Facebook right now. We know we've done some look behind the background, and we're suffering because we don't. What's happening is we don't generate a lot of our own posts now. It's not like the OGR and the MGR, where everything we do. The Golden Globe and the Ocean Globe, basically, we very rarely, if ever, shared other posts onto the site. We would always generate our own material because there's a block on technology and stuff for all of the entrants. And so we have a very strong site, and the algorithm worked pretty good. We've got something like 60,000 followers on GGR and a reasonable amount on OGR. We're building the following both on YouTube and Facebook, slowly but surely. But what we're finding is the posts aren't getting distributed very far with the algorithm because we're just sharing posts. In other words, not our material. We pick up material from an entrant and put it on. We pick up this and put it on. And Facebook doesn't like YouTube anyway because they're sort of competitors. So you don't get any boost from the material that we do there. Some of those we can put up live if we're producing something, but the boat tours and stuff, they've already come and gone and so on. So that means we put a post up now and we get very few people liking and things like that because people don't even know it's there. What's happening is people who are actively following, they'll come back and look, so they see it. But other followers we have, they don't see it on their normal feed because we're jumping down on the algorithm, which is very interesting because we know we should be getting far more reactions and so on than we actually are. So that's why you don't necessarily see a huge number of people coming in there. So we're thinking about that, and we may have to make a decision on what we do. We might we may create the link to everyone, all the entrants on the website, which we already have. So you can go to the website page and look at all the entrants' Facebook pages. But what we may have to do is start pulling off photos and text and putting our own, turning their posts into our posts to keep the algorithm healthy. We're not sure yet, but it's an interesting challenge. Anyway, enough of that. G'day, John. Thanks for that. G'day, Alenka. I've always assumed I'm assuming that's the right name to pronounce your name, Alenka. We go back a long way. Alenka's got hull number 2. I had hull number 1. And she's just glassing the boat up. You should just get onto her site and like what she's doing and follow it. You'll be amazed. Anyway, can you share more news about Mike? Hope he's not injured. Well, it's all, if you just look at the post under this, I just put it up before I went through and you'll see the story about the knockdown there. So he's not injured. He's quite happy. When he went down, he froze for a couple of minutes, a bit cautious to move just in case he ended up upside down. Boat got hit really heavily, went on its side. He got thrown. He was upside down on the side of the boat when it recovered, and he just sat there waiting for a couple of minutes before he slowly started to move. But he's cool. He's actually doing really well. So there you go. Always a different perspective from Don. All good. Yep, no problem. Afternoon from a sunny Scotland. Jeepers. It's cold down here, but there is a bit of blue sky. If you have time, can we get the quick explanation of poling a sail out? Sure. I'll for that, I'll give you my proper. Look at this. Oh, look at this. Oh, does anyone recognise that? This is my tracker model. This actually is the perpetual trophy for the mini globe race. It's not quite finished yet, but this is sort of an exact replica of John Guswell's tracker. It's really cool. So there you go. The people think, you look at this model and you think, oh, it's a bit dumpy and ugly, and you wouldn't even believe that it's actually a scaled model, right? It's to the lines plan of the actual boat. It's just that when you've got a small boat, it's not like a long slig big one. It's a bit dumpy and it looks a bit ugly in some perspectives, but that's tracker. And so you can see you've got a head sail here and you've got a mainsail. So if you've got the wind coming behind you, you have to hold that sail. It's sheeted in at the moment. You hold that sail. So you have like a spinnaker pole like this, or a booming out pole. It's connected to the mast. And if you stick it out the side like that, you then just sheet this sail instead of going down to the deck. The rope goes from the end of the sail through the end of the pole right there and then back to the boat. So if the wind is coming over the back of the boat like this, the sail is now pulled out to the side. Does that make sense? So it's out here, and you've just got a pole going in the mast. So that's the pole which holds it out. So that's my tracker model. It'll be the perpetual model for the mini globe race. I hope that makes sense. So it's pretty basic. And you use the pole as well for a spinnaker. You've got the big parachute out the front. It has two ropes, two sheets on either side to hold it as the wind's pushing and holding it out there. But if you go a little bit to the side, you've got to actually have a pole there to hold one side of it. If you get on, the best way to that one, if you can get onto Google, Google's got everything, and just Google or YouTube. I mean, there's a lot of instruction videos about sailing and all the different aspects of sailing on YouTube. It's quite, you can just ask anything and you got it there. So go Jasmine, yeah. G'day Jan, Bob. How the skipper's getting on with taking position sights? It's a very good point. And I got to tell you, we are going to be so strict on this. And I haven't heard any news yet, but I was very surprised in Lagos when I got there. Surprised in one hand, not surprised in the other. Surprised that quite a few, in fact a lot, had absolutely no idea. It's very clear in the notice of race that for the MGR, you must be able to do complete celestial observations and calculations and plotting sheets to tabulate a position. And a position isn't one line. When you do a meridian passage, you get an east-west line, which is your latitude north or south of the equator. So that's one line, but it's not your position, because you could be anywhere on that line all the way around the globe. So you need a morning sight or an afternoon sight to cross that over if it's use the meridian passage, or forget the meridian passage at noon and get a morning sight and an afternoon sight, and where they cross over, that's where you are. You do a running fix between the timeline and you calculate that. And some of them were really struggling. Fortunately, John Bankart was there, and it was so some of them now are comfortable with noon sights. And I've said as a minimum, the first stage, just to not make them panic yet, they have to arrive in Antigua with at least five or six noon sights. That's meridian passage with an east-west position line. If they arrive without that, as well as no other knowledge, we got to determine whether we're going to let them in the MGR and what the next phase might be. If they come with a meridian passage, which is very easy, I won't go into it, it's not a nav lesson, then that's okay, I'll let them go. But then they have to prove that by the time they get to Panama, they can do a morning or an afternoon sight to create the full, complete celestial fix. Because I figured some were still struggling with their boats to get them on the water, and then now they're struggling to learn their boats and how to sail the boats. Because they're quite different than other yachts, because there's a lot of serious sailors there that have never sailed the little boats, the 580. And so I thought, okay, I won't stress them, just do a meridian passage. So ask me when they get in, and we'll tell you how they're getting on. So it's going to be interesting. John, we need to ask John and Mike the meaning of Delta. Yeah, good point. Any news on Josh Carley's ETA in Antigua? He's sailing his boat there now, isn't he? Yeah, you can follow his tracker on the other side. He's got some, without even looking, I haven't looked, I looked at it when he was about 90 miles offshore. Looking at the weather, he's going to have some challenges, and he's an interesting guy. I've never met him, but we've had chats online and all that sort of stuff. Very self-determined, very strong. He's built an amazing boat. He's a mountain climber. He does it tough. I don't think the ocean's going to faze him, because he's also been a fisherman, a commercial fisherman and stuff. So he's at one. He's sort of should be at one with the ocean. He built a great boat. He understands self-discipline and risk assessment and value judgments, which are critical for mountain climbing, because he did some serious stuff and survived. So I think he's going to be okay. But as a sailor, any sailor looking at the weather he's going to get over the next, say, 10 days or a week, it's very challenging. So I think they'll, good luck, Josh, stay safe and all that sort of stuff. So going to be interesting to watch. So, but you can follow his tracker. There. Alenka, I believe it's a Polish word meaning daughter of the sea. Oh, yeah, actually, I've heard that before. I think you're right. Yeah, about Delja. When's the date for the MGR start? February the 23rd. Okay. Wanderlust goes Swinney. That's Gary. Gary's a funny guy. An interesting guy, I should say. He's got a huge following there in terms of when he wanted to go. A couple of his posts there. He's got a shipwright society or organisation. He's a professional boat builder, shipwright, blah, 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 in Sydney, which is the centre of the world for sailing and stuff, sort of thing. Not quite, but it is. And one of he put one post up saying, shit, he's going, and it was like bombed with about 800 bloody emotions and all that sort of stuff. So you've got a lot of people, I think, are following him. In fact, the collective following of the entrance is building. Quite cool. Don, can you compare crossing Atlantic in small boat alone versus in a fleet? Jane and I were just discussing this today because of a rower. We've got some rowing friends, that are involved with rowing, and one of them's having some challenges at the moment. The weather's a bit average, and he's an independent rower. And it's always a bit scarier when you're out there. And I related to when I did my BOC in 1990. There were 22 other entrants when I left. It was the biggest solo voyage I'd done, of course. It took me 8 years to get there and so on. But in the meantime, before that point, you had understood and appreciated people like Kay Cotty, who was the first woman. Sir Robert Knox Johnson was the first guy to go around the world, right? Solo non-stop. The first woman to go around the world. No matter what you hear, I can tell you now, guarantee you, it was Kay Cotty, an Australian, in Blackmore's First Lady, which she was a friend. I knew Kay quite well and knew her sponsor, Marcus, really well, and all that sort of stuff. And other people that have been involved with John Sanders and Jesse Martin and David Dix, a whole pile of them sailing SS34s out of Australia. And that's all pretty cool. They all went out and gone. Okay, when I did my BOC, I found it to be much, much less scary and much more fun, because it was like you're out. I never played football, but it's like you're out with a football team. Everyone else is out there with you, So you knew that whatever was happening to you, it was also happening to the other guys. And this rower today, he's an independent. He's not part of the world's toughest row. He's rowing by himself. He has a support team, keeping an eye on him, and that's how I was talking to him. And it's scary when you're out there by yourself. So in a fleet of 580s going across, it is very psychologically comforting. And whether it's safer, I don't know whether it's safer, because it'd be hard for another 580 necessarily to help. But there's a bit of an organisation. You've got all your managers watching and listening, and you're also sharing your stories out in the media, out in social media and stuff. So it's a bit more relaxed. If you're just in your own little boat and you just go, like John Guswell when he went, when there was no such thing, no long distance radios, no satellite phones, no EPIRBs. And in fact, there's a story. when I took off in my little Duncanson 29 back in 78, I think it was 1978. There was no such thing as a maritime EPIRB. You couldn't buy one in those days. I went and bought an ELT, an emergency locating transmitter for an aircraft. It was a narco airplane crash locator that transmitted on 1215 because there was no such thing as a maritime EPIRB. And that was only in 78. Well, that was probably a long time ago for some people. But anyway, and I had my radio. I bought a special HF AM radio, a waterproof one. It was portable, big one, that only transmitted on one frequency. Oh, sheep, is that long since I've said it? 128. No, cheapest. I can't even remember what the emergency frequency is now. 2182. 2182. That's it. And it had a two-tone alarm, that transmitted on that to trigger a watch alarm on the bridge of shipping. Okay, because that was how you did your distress stuff, all on radio. And that was it. I had a life raft and I made up a panic bag and all that stuff. So things have changed a lot. So I digress there. Because I was just talking about this rower. Yeah, he's on his own and it's a bit more scary when that's the case. So a long answer for a small, simple question. Anyway, so the fleet is very cool. And in this instance, the fleet is really close. Like they're a bunch of really close connected friends now. And everyone will be helping everyone else get to the next stage. You know, they all want to get around together. So let's see what happens. Wasn't someone else sailing out of Western Florida, Panhandle? He got snow the other day. Yeah, no, that was Josh. Josh got the snow, and Eric, another Australian who bought Sun Bear, American boat. From we put him up the other day as well, who was in the last Transat last year. He bought that. So Eric is coming down, and I'll put his tracker up later today. John, thanks for the quick explanation. They could do both at Latin long during the meridian passage using the canal. Oh yeah, there's all sorts of things you can do. You can. That's exactly right. You just balance it either side of the meridian passage, and you can get a rough position and stuff. Anyway, it's another story. It's not a navigation lesson for now. Mike is okay. Yes, he is. Captain Joey, g'day. Got here late. Are they catching the toughest rowers? Yeah, they're starting to catch through them. They're not close at the moment. But why is the 580 fleet going east to west? But other races, Vonda accept to go west to east around the globe. Oh, that's pretty simple because we don't want to go around Cape Horn, and there is a trade wind route. So in other words, you could say the Vendée and the Golden Globe and the Ocean Globe, they are following the clipper ships, okay? And the true ocean is where if you wanted to circumnavigate, that's what you had to do. You had to go around the three great capes, Cape of Good Hope, Cape Lewin, and Cape Horn, to get around the world. And they were doing trade, commercial trade, going to Australia with wheat and wool and taking timber and stuff down there that way and racing around Cape Horn to get back. So that's where it started. You know, the clipper ships did it, and then Sir Francis Chichester decided to try and do it solo with one stop to beat the clipper ship times, and then the Golden Globe turned up, and Sir Robert Knox Johnson was the only one to finish that and go around solo non-stop. And then the Whitbread race was the next one that started because of there's a fully crewed race that started because of the Golden Globe race. The fully crewed sailors thought, well, if the solo sailors can do it, why don't we have a race around the world? So that was partly coordinated by the Royal Naval Sailing Association, which is Kerry on Origami. He's actually sailing under the burgee of RANSA, which is the English Royal Naval Sailing Association or club, and they were part and parcel to the original Whitbread races, the fully crewed races, and so then you had the Golden Globe race, and the next one after that was the BOC Challenge, and that was coordinated and organised by the Slocum Society in America. They thought, hey, we should have a single-handed race around the world because it has, since the Golden Globe, nothing's happened. So they started the first BOC Challenge. It was sponsored by BOC Corp in the UK, and so the BOC races happened, and then that got taken over by VLUX, which was Sir Robert Knox Johnson's organisation. And then that sort of morphed from the BOC in 1986 when I was the race chairman for the Sydney race chairman for the BOC going around, which was stops, had 4 legs and stopped in Sydney. And Sir Robert Knox Johnson was the overall race chairman. And from there, the entrants, Philippe Jonteau and Bertie Reed and Titoine Lamazou and Robert and Jean-Luc Van and Heed and all the rest of it. And I was there at the time. So what's next? And they started to talk about not the idea of a non-stop race around the world, which morphed into the Vendée Globe. So you can see it's all going around from the clipper ship routes. And so the first Vendée Globe was in 89. It's the 10th edition, this one that's just finishing, which started in 24. So yeah, you can work that out. But anyway, it's the 10th edition. It's been a huge success and lots of things coming out of that. So pretty cool. So that's another long answer to a small question. Anyway, okay, that's about it. So thank you very much, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow. I hope you saw there's another, I think it was the final boat tour was one that Jane put up this morning. So always plenty going on. Okay, I'll see if I can press the right buttons again, and we'll see you again tomorrow. See you later. Oh, wrong one. Bloody hell. Hang on, gotta stop that. I'll put this one up. Nope, that's me. That's the wrong one. This one. See ya.
Witness history in the making. The McIntyre Mini Globe Race 2025. Small boat, huge adventure.